First reading from St. Paul to the Romans says, God makes all things work together for good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Sometimes it's hard to see that stuff. I can remember one of the most traumatic moments in my life. I was working for Kaufman's, supervising the people that okayed all the charge cards for this department store. And I got fired. And I was really traumatized, and I went for about a month without finding a job. A month later, I got a job working for U.S. Steel doing corporate outplacement, helping people find jobs when the mills were closed, going around the country, and doubled my salary. Truth be told, if I hadn't been fired, I probably would have still been there if the store was still open, and I was making $12,900 a year supervising 13 people. So that trauma really started the path of my life. It took me to this job helping steelworkers find jobs, and because of that, when the diocese decided they wanted to have a ministry to the unemployed, they hired me, and I worked there for 11 years and got to meet the bishop and some other people, and eventually ended up here. So you never know how God's going to work. The same way the Canticle of Simeon tells us about Jesus being brought into the temple with the Blessed Mother to offer 2 turtle doves. And it said that Simeon grabbed the baby and said, "Lord, now you can let me die in peace." And he looked at the Blessed Mother and he said, "This child is destined for the rise and fall of many in Israel, and you yourself will be pierced with a sword, that the thoughts of many hearts may be laid bare." She had no idea what he was talking about, but she knew that it was important. And as it says in the scripture passage after that, she remembered these things and pondered them in her heart. Years later, as Jesus was being tortured and mocked and spit on and forced to carry that cross, I'm sure those words came true, that her heart would be pierced with a sword. And because of that, we know that she's experienced so many pains and so much agony, and for 3 days agonized over the loss of her son, and on the 3rd day, how overjoyed she must have been to see the risen Jesus, to know that it wasn't the end of the story. But through it all, she didn't have any supernatural knowledge of what was going on. She had to agonizingly watch what happened and trust as best she could that somehow there was a plan. God makes all things work together for good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Were it not for his sacrifice, there's no way we could make it into heaven on our own. None of us are holy enough. Mary suffered all of that stuff quietly, just trusting. But she was full of grace. Whenever we're in trials and tribulations, it's often good to pray for that grace and pray to the Blessed Mother to say, "I don't understand what's going on, Lord. Why are you letting all of these things happen?" And to pray to the Blessed Mother to say, "Please give me the same grace that you had to get through this," and to trust that somehow, some way, even if it doesn't seem like he's listening, that God is working these things together, not only for our good, but for the good of the whole human race.